Let me say something most men are afraid to admit. At some point in your life, you've looked at a woman and thought, why is she so hard to understand? One day she's warm. The next day she's distant. She says she's fine, but you can feel she's not. She wants you strong, but also sensitive. Confident, but not arrogant. Calm, but not cold. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that women are unpredictable. But what if I told you, they are not complicated? What if the confusion you feel is not about her, but about the lens you're using to see her? In this video, we're not going to blame women. We're going to elevate men. Because once you understand the deeper psychology behind female emotion, and once you strengthen your own emotional discipline, something powerful happens. She doesn't become easier. You become wiser. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where you will find valuable lessons and tips to help you build a truly lasting love. In today's video, we will explore 8 reasons why you always find women difficult to understand, with real stories and insight. Don't miss the advice that can change the way you perceive and live in love. You will definitely feel more comfortable when you find a quiet place and put on your headphones. Let yourself relax and be ready to receive the positive messages in today's video. Are you ready to start this journey? Let's start together. #1. Women speak the language of emotion, while men speak the language of solutions. There was a time in my life when I genuinely believed women were complicated. Not because they said too much, but because they didn't say what I expected. I would sit across from a woman I cared about, listening carefully, analyzing her words like a strategist studying a battlefield. She would tell me about her bad day. I would respond with logic. I would offer solutions, fixes, improvements, action plans. And somehow, she would grow distant. It took me years to understand something simple, something almost embarrassingly obvious. She wasn't asking me to fix her world. She was inviting me into her emotional experience of it. That is the first reason many men find women hard to understand. Men are trained, by society and by instinct, to solve. Women are wired, emotionally and socially, to connect. When a woman speaks about a problem, she is often not presenting a puzzle. She is revealing a feeling. And feelings are not problems to be repaired. They are realities to be acknowledged. A Stoic man learns this the hard way. In Stoic philosophy, we are taught to separate what we control from what we do not. We control our judgments, our reactions, our discipline. But we do not control external events, nor the emotional rhythms of another human being. Many men try to control a woman's emotional state by correcting it. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. You're overthinking. These responses are logical, efficient, clean, and emotionally useless. When a woman shares her frustration, what she often seeks is not correction, but containment, a calm presence that says, I see you. I hear you. Your feelings make sense. The inexperienced man believes strength means having answers. The seasoned man understands strength is sometimes silent. There is a quiet power in listening without interruption. In resisting the urge to dominate the conversation with logic. In holding space without judgment. I remember a moment that changed me. A woman I loved was upset about something small, at least small by my standards. My instinct was to minimize it. Instead, I stayed quiet. I asked her one question. How did that make you feel? She spoke for 10 minutes. I barely said anything. When she finished, she smiled and said, Thank you for understanding. The truth? I hadn't solved anything. But I had respected her emotional reality. And that is the bridge most men fail to cross. Women experience life in layers of emotion. They process events not only through facts, but through meaning, tone, energy, intention. If you respond only to the surface, you miss the depth. A Stoic man does not dismiss emotion. He governs his own. He does not become reactive. He does not become defensive. He listens with composure. Marcus Aurelius wrote about observing impressions before judging them. The same applies in love. When a woman speaks, do not rush to interpret. Observe. Understand. Let the emotion breathe before you respond. Here is the paradox. The more calmly you hold space for her emotions, the more stable she feels. The more stable she feels, the less complicated she appears. What many men label as drama is often unheard emotion. What they call confusing is often unmet emotional presence. This does not mean abandoning logic. It means sequencing it. First, empathy. Then, clarity. First, connection. Then, correction. A woman who feels understood becomes softer. A woman who feels dismissed becomes distant. And distance is far more difficult to solve than emotion. If you wish to understand women, stop listening only for information. Start listening for feeling. Because when she speaks, she is not handing you a problem. She is handing you trust. And how you respond determines everything. #2. She doesn't always say exactly what she means, and that is not weakness, it is vulnerability. When I was younger, I believed words were absolute. If she said, "It's fine," then it was fine. If she said, "Do whatever you want," I did exactly that. If she said, "I'm not upset," I took her at face value. And then I would be surprised when distance grew between us. It took experience, and a few painful lessons. To understand something essential. A woman does not always communicate through direct statements. She often communicates through emotional signals. And if you only listen to the surface of her words, you will miss the depth of her meaning. This is the second reason many men find women difficult to understand. Men are linear communicators. We are trained to be direct, efficient, concise. Say what you mean. Mean what you say. Women, however, often communicate relationally. Their words are connected to context, tone, timing, and emotional safety. When she says, "It's okay," it may not be a declaration. It may be a test of attentiveness. It may be a shield protecting vulnerability. Not because she enjoys manipulation, but because revealing true feelings requires trust. And trust, to a woman, is emotional risk. A Stoic man does not react to what is spoken alone. He observes what is implied. He notices the pause before her answer. He senses the shift in her tone. He recognizes when her eyes say something her pride refuses to. This is not mind reading. This is emotional awareness. Let me tell you something most men learn too late. When a woman feels safe, she becomes direct. When she feels uncertain, she becomes subtle. Subtlety is not confusion. It is protection. Imagine this, she says, "You don't have to come if you're busy." The inexperienced man hears permission. The experienced man hears desire. She wants you there, but she does not want to beg. Because desire without dignity feels weak. And women value emotional dignity deeply. In Stoicism, we are taught to master perception. Not to accept impressions blindly, but to examine them carefully. The same applies here. When she speaks, ask yourself. What is she feeling beneath these words? Is she expressing indifference, or fear of rejection? Is she silent because she does not care, or because she cares too much? The problem is not that women are unclear. The problem is that many men are inattentive. We listen to respond, not to understand. And when we misunderstand, we grow frustrated. She should just say it clearly. Perhaps. But maturity is not demanding the world adjust to your style of communication. Maturity is expanding your awareness. I once dated a woman who rarely asked for reassurance. Instead, she would withdraw slightly when she felt insecure. In the past, I would have mirrored that distance. Instead, I chose composure. I asked gently, "Are you feeling disconnected from me lately?" Her eyes softened. She nodded. She hadn't said it. But she had felt it. That moment taught me something powerful. When you respond to what she feels, not just what she says, you become the emotional leader of the relationship. And emotional leadership is strength. Stoic love is not cold. It is steady. It does not overreact to mixed signals. It seeks clarity without aggression. If something feels off, ask calmly. If her words contradict her energy, explore it respectfully. Do not accuse. Do not mock. Do not dismiss. Simply inquire. A woman will not always hand you her vulnerability directly. Sometimes she offers it in fragments. And if you are patient enough to gather those fragments without judgment, she will eventually trust you with the whole truth. Here is the deeper truth most men ignore. Women often communicate indirectly because they are evaluating safety. Will you ridicule her emotion? Will you minimize it? Will you weaponize it later? If the answer is no, consistently, she becomes clearer over time. Clarity is earned. It is not demanded. The man who complains that women are confusing is often the same man who has not cultivated emotional steadiness. And without steadiness, there can be no transparency. So the next time she says, "It's nothing," do not roll your eyes. Pause. Observe. Ask softly, "Are you sure?" Not with suspicion. But with presence. Because behind those guarded words may be something fragile. And how you handle fragility determines whether love deepens, or quietly dissolves. In love, sometimes we don't need too many promises, but just a little understanding and a heart that knows how to listen. It is the experiences, both happy and sad, that help us mature and know how to love more fully. Here, I want to contemplate those things with you, so that each step in the journey of love becomes more clear-headed and peaceful. If you feel that what I share is valuable, please click like to support this video. And if this is your first visit, please click subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss the next insightful perspectives on love. I also really want to hear from you. What do you like most about today's story? Leave a comment below, because who knows, your experience might be a great source of encouragement for someone else who is listening. And now, let's continue to explore what's waiting for you. #3. Her emotions shift, not because she is unstable, but because she is deeply responsive. There was a time when I believed consistency meant emotional flatness. If I felt calm yesterday, I should feel calm today. If something didn't bother me before, it shouldn't bother me now. That is how many men are wired. Our emotional rhythm is often steady, controlled, predictable. But a woman's emotional world does not move in straight lines. It moves in waves. And if you do not understand the ocean, you will mistake its depth for chaos. This is the third reason many men believe women are hard to understand. Her emotional state can change with context, and that does not mean she is irrational. It means she is responsive. A woman does not experience events in isolation. She experiences them in connection, to memory, to tone, to timing, to the subtle energy of the moment. The inexperienced man sees inconsistency. The experienced man sees sensitivity. And there is a difference. You may say something playful one day and she laughs. You say the same thing another day and she becomes quiet. The immature reaction is frustration. Why are you overreacting? The Stoic reaction is curiosity. What is different today? Because something is different. Perhaps she is tired. Perhaps she feels disconnected. Perhaps something unrelated has already lowered her emotional threshold. A wise man understands that context shapes reaction. Even in Stoic philosophy, emotions are not denied, they are examined. Marcus Aurelius did not pretend irritation never arose. He observed it, traced its origin, and chose his response deliberately. Do the same in love. When her mood shifts, do not immediately defend yourself. Pause. Observe the whole picture. A woman's emotional responsiveness is often tied to how secure she feels in the relationship at that moment. If she feels close to you, she is relaxed. If she feels distant, small things feel larger. And here is what most men miss. Her emotional shifts are often signals, not attacks. Signals of unmet needs. Signals of stress. Signals of longing. But because men tend to interpret emotional fluctuation as instability, we react with resistance instead of steadiness. And resistance fuels escalation. A Stoic man does not get pulled into emotional turbulence. He anchors it. He does not match her rising tone with his own. He lowers his voice. He does not accuse her of being dramatic. He asks what she needs. I once had a relationship where I noticed a pattern. When she felt deeply connected, she was soft, playful, affectionate. When she felt uncertain, she became sensitive, sometimes even sharp. In my younger years, I would have challenged that sharpness. Later in life, I chose something different. Instead of saying, "Why are you acting like this?" I said, "Are you feeling disconnected from me right now?" And almost every time. That was the root. Not the comment. Not the situation. But the feeling of distance. Women are often more attuned to relational shifts than men. They sense subtle changes in attention, tone, priority. What you consider minor, she may experience as meaningful. Not because she is fragile, but because she is relationally aware. And awareness brings emotional movement. Understand this clearly. Emotional fluctuation is not weakness. Suppressed emotion is. A woman who feels safe expressing her changing emotional state is emotionally alive. The problem arises when a man demands emotional predictability instead of offering emotional stability. You cannot control her emotional waves. But you can control your presence within them. That is Stoic strength. Not dominance. Not detachment. But composure. When she is overwhelmed, you do not become overwhelmed. When she is uncertain, you do not withdraw. When she is sensitive, you do not mock. You remain centered. And over time, something remarkable happens. Her waves become gentler. Because she no longer feels alone in them. The truth is simple. Many men call women moody because they expect them to operate like men. But women are not built for emotional rigidity. They are built for emotional depth. And depth, by nature, moves. If you want peace and love, do not demand still water. Become the shore strong enough to hold the tide. Because once a woman feels that your steadiness does not disappear when her emotions shift, she will trust you with her calm. And her storms. #4. She thinks in layers, while you think in lines. When I was younger, I believed problems had one dimension. Something happened. We address it. We move forward. Clean. Efficient. Done. But loving a woman taught me something that philosophy alone never could. A woman rarely experiences a moment as a single event. She experiences it as a layered meaning. And this is the fourth reason many men believe women are hard to understand. When something happens, she is not only thinking about what happened. She is thinking about what it means. To you. To her. To the relationship. To the future. Men often think in lines. Women often think in layers. Let me explain. You cancel dinner because you are tired. In your mind, the equation is simple. Tired need rest reschedule. But in her emotional world, several questions may quietly unfold. Was I not important tonight? Is he losing interest? Is something changing between us? Am I asking for too much? You see a schedule adjustment. She feels a potential shift in connection. Is she overthinking? Perhaps. But overthinking is often just deeper relational analysis. Women tend to process relationships holistically. Every action connects to a larger emotional narrative. A Stoic man does not mock depth. He respects it. Stoicism teaches us to examine impressions before reacting to them. But it also teaches awareness of the broader human experience. When she analyzes your tone, your timing, your consistency, she is not trying to interrogate you. She is trying to understand stability. Women are highly attuned to patterns. Not just what you say, but how often you say it. When you say it. How your energy shifts over time. You may think, why is she bringing up something from 3 weeks ago? Because to her, it connects. It forms a pattern. And patterns create meaning. A seasoned man understands that meaning is more powerful than events. If she says, it's not about tonight, listen carefully. She is telling you that the present moment is tied to something deeper. The inexperienced man argues the facts. I told you I was busy. You're making this bigger than it is. The experienced man explores the layer. Are you feeling like I haven't been prioritizing you? See the difference? One defends the action. The other addresses the meaning. And meaning is where love either strengthens, or fractures. I once dated a woman who became quiet whenever I worked late multiple nights in a row. I saw ambition. She saw distance. We weren't arguing about work. We were navigating what work symbolized. To me, progress. To her, emotional absence. Until I understood the layer, I kept solving the wrong problem. This is what many men miss. Women often experience relationships symbolically. Consistency symbolizes safety. Attention symbolizes value. Tone symbolizes intention. If you dismiss her layered thinking as too much, she will slowly feel unseen. But if you acknowledge it calmly, something shifts. She feels understood at a deeper level. And when a woman feels understood beneath the surface, she softens. Stoic love is not emotionally shallow. It is emotionally disciplined. You do not react defensively when she analyzes meaning. You stay grounded. You clarify. You reassure without irritation. Because irritation signals guilt or insecurity. Composure signals strength. Here is the deeper truth. Women think in layers because they invest emotionally. When she stops analyzing meaning, she has stopped caring. Be grateful when she questions. Be attentive when she reflects. It means the relationship matters to her. But remember this balance. You do not allow endless spirals of imagined fears. You guide gently back to reality. With calm facts. With steady tone. With consistent action. Because while she may think in layers, she also seeks grounding. And that grounding can be you. The man who understands layers does not drown in them. He navigates them. He recognizes that behind every question is a desire for reassurance. Behind every analysis is a search for security. And security is built not through argument, but through steady presence. If you want to understand women, stop reacting only to events. Start listening for meaning. Because when she speaks about what happened, she is often asking what it means. And how you answer that question determines whether she feels safe, or alone, beside you. #5. She tests your attention, not to manipulate you, but to measure your presence. There is a word many men dislike: tests. We hear it and immediately think of games. Manipulation. Emotional traps. I used to think the same way. Until I realized something uncomfortable. What I called tests were often moments where she was quietly measuring how present I truly was. And this is the 5th reason many men find women hard to understand. Sometimes she does not ask directly for reassurance. She observes whether you offer it voluntarily. A woman rarely says, "Please prove that I matter to you." Instead, she watches. She notices whether you remember small details. Whether you sense her mood shifts. Whether you act, without being instructed. The immature man sees this as unnecessary complexity. The seasoned man sees it as emotional calibration. In Stoic philosophy, awareness is power. Not control over others, but mastery over your own perception. When a woman makes a subtle comment like, "You've been busy lately," it may sound casual. But beneath it could be a deeper question. Am I still a priority? Now here is where most men fail. They respond defensively. "I'm working. I have responsibilities. Why are you making this an issue?" But she was not attacking your ambition. She was checking your attention. Women value emotional presence deeply. Not constant texting. Not obsession. But intentional awareness. When she shares something small, like mentioning an important meeting she has next week, and you later follow up without being reminded, you pass an invisible test. Not because she set a trap, but because you demonstrated care. The truth many men resist is this. Attention is currency in relationships. Where you place it reveals what you value. A Stoic man does not scatter his attention carelessly. He chooses deliberately. He knows that focus is a form of respect. And women feel respected when they feel seen. I remember a moment that changed my understanding of this entirely. A woman I cared about once said, almost playfully, "You never notice when I change something." I laughed it off at first. But later I realized it wasn't about her hair. Or her dress. It was about whether I was observant. Presence is not loud. It is detailed. When a woman senses that you are mentally elsewhere, even when physically beside her, she feels the distance. And instead of directly accusing you of emotional absence, she might do something subtle. She may withdraw slightly. She may stop sharing as much. She may become less expressive. Not as punishment, but as protection. Because if she must compete for your attention, she will eventually conserve her energy. The inexperienced man complains. Why can't she just say what she wants? The experienced man understands. She wants to feel chosen, without begging to be chosen. And that distinction matters. Now let us be clear. Healthy relationships are not built on endless testing. If a woman constantly creates artificial scenarios to provoke jealousy or insecurity, that is immaturity. But most of what men call tests are simply moments of evaluation. Is he consistent? Is he emotionally steady? Does he notice me? And consistency is where Stoic strength shines. You do not overreact to these moments. You do not accuse her of playing games. You remain composed, and you show up. If she says, "It's fine, go out with your friends," the naive man hears freedom. The grounded man hears opportunity. Opportunity to say, "I will. But I also want to make sure we spend time together this week." That is leadership. Not control. Not submission. Balanced direction. A woman feels secure when she senses that your attention is not fragile. That it does not disappear when something more exciting appears. That it does not fluctuate with your mood. Your steadiness reduces her need to measure. And here is the paradox. The more consistently present you are, the fewer tests you will encounter. Because uncertainty breeds evaluation. Certainty breeds relaxation. If you are erratic, affectionate one day, distant the next, she will seek reassurance indirectly. If you are steady, calm, attentive, consistent, she will settle. The Stoic man does not resent being observed. He understands that leadership in love is demonstrated, not declared. And attention is one of the clearest demonstrations. So the next time she makes a small comment that feels like a subtle probe, do not roll your eyes. Ask yourself, have I been present? Not physically, but mentally, emotionally. Because often, what she is measuring is not your perfection. She is measuring your presence. And presence, quiet, consistent, unshaken, is what transforms suspicion into trust. Love is actually like a mirror reflecting the inner self. When we are calm enough, we will realize that every challenge, every silence carries a valuable lesson. And that is what I want to convey through each story on this channel. If you feel that these shares bring value, please leave a like to support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe, because who knows, one day, just a small idea from these videos can change the way you look at love, at yourself. Let's continue with me, because there are many interesting things waiting for you to discover. #6. She needs emotional safety, before she can fully surrender. When I was younger, I thought attraction was built on intensity. Chemistry. Passion. Excitement. And yes, those things matter. But what I did not understand then, and what only experience taught me later, is this. A woman does not truly open herself to a man because of excitement. She opens because she feels safe. And this is the 6th reason many men find women difficult to understand. When she does not relax, when she hesitates, when she overanalyzes, it is often not confusion. It is a lack of emotional safety. Men often think in terms of physical protection. I would protect her. I would defend her. But emotional safety is something far more subtle. It is the certainty that she will not be mocked for her vulnerability. Her fears will not be used against her. Her emotions will not be dismissed. Her trust will not be betrayed. A Stoic man understands this deeply. Because Stoicism is not emotional coldness. It is emotional discipline. And discipline creates stability. Stability creates safety. A woman studies your reactions more than your words. If she shares an insecurity and you laugh, she closes. If she expresses jealousy and you attack her for it, she hardens. If she admits fear and you grow impatient, she withdraws. Not because she is dramatic, but because vulnerability without safety feels dangerous. And women are biologically and emotionally wired to assess relational risk. You may believe she is too sensitive. But sensitivity is simply awareness without protection. If she does not feel emotionally protected by you, she will protect herself. And self-protection looks like distance, defensiveness, emotional unpredictability. Many men misinterpret this as instability. In reality, it is armor. I remember a relationship where everything seemed perfect on the surface. We laughed. We traveled. We were intimate. But something was missing. She never fully relaxed. One evening, after a disagreement, she said quietly, "I don't feel safe telling you when I'm upset." That sentence struck me harder than any accusation ever could. Not safe. Not physically. Emotionally. I realized that in moments of conflict, I became logical, sharp, dismissive. I wanted efficiency. I wanted resolution. But she wanted reassurance. Resolution without reassurance feels cold. And coldness does not build safety. A Stoic man does not dominate conflict. He regulates it. He keeps his tone steady. He does not insult. He does not escalate. He listens first. Because when a woman knows that disagreement does not threaten connection, she begins to trust deeply. Emotional safety means she can cry without being judged. She can question without being punished. She can express fear without losing your respect. And when she feels that safety, something remarkable happens. She softens. Her overthinking decreases. Her defensiveness fades. Her emotional waves calm. Because safety reduces anxiety. Many men want loyalty, devotion, surrender. But few understand the foundation of those things. A woman does not surrender to dominance. She surrenders to stability. Stability is calm under pressure. It is consistency over time. It is knowing that your mood does not dictate your commitment. When she senses that your presence does not disappear when things become uncomfortable, her nervous system relaxes. And a relaxed woman is not complicated. She is radiant. Here is the deeper truth. If a woman seems difficult, guarded, or unpredictable, ask yourself. Does she truly feel safe with me? Not impressed. Not attracted. Safe. Because attraction creates sparks. Safety creates depth. And depth is where real love lives. A Stoic man does not chase emotional control. He becomes emotionally grounded. He masters his temper. He disciplines his ego. He refuses to weaponize silence. And in doing so, he becomes a place of refuge. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she gives her softness freely. And softness, when freely given, is one of the most powerful forces in love. So if you want to understand women, stop asking why they are so guarded. Start asking whether your presence allows them to lower their guard. Because once a woman feels safe with you, you will no longer experience her as complicated. You will experience her as connected. #7. She wants to be heard, not fixed. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn as a man was this. Not every problem requires a solution. And not every emotion requires correction. For years, I believed love meant being useful. If she was stressed, I offered advice. If she was sad, I suggested strategies. If she was confused, I gave direction. I thought I was being strong. But strength without sensitivity feels like control. And this is the 7th reason many men find women hard to understand. When she shares her emotions, she often wants connection, not correction. Men are trained to solve. From a young age, we are rewarded for competence. For fixing. For improving outcomes. So when a woman says, "I had a terrible day," our instinct is immediate. What happened? What can you do differently? Did you talk to your boss? Logical. Efficient. Masculine. But often, completely misaligned. Because what she truly wants in that moment is not a strategy. She wants resonance. She wants you to feel with her, not think for her. You stabilize more. She analyzes emotion. You anchor direction. If you demand that she process like you, you remove the polarity. And without polarity, desire fades. Understanding does not require you to become emotional in the same way she is. It requires you to respect that her internal world functions differently. And difference is not threat. It is complement. I remember once saying to a woman, during an argument, "You're making this too complicated." She looked at me and replied, "No. You're trying to make it smaller than it is." That sentence stayed with me. Men often reduce. Women often expand. Both are necessary. Reduction brings focus. Expansion brings depth. The Stoic man does not resist expansion. He regulates it. He listens without being overwhelmed. He observes without absorbing chaos. He remains grounded, while allowing her emotional landscape to exist. Here is the deeper truth most men never confront. If every woman you meet feels confusing, the common denominator is not women. It is you. Growth in love requires psychological flexibility. The ability to step outside your habitual patterns of thought. To ask, what might this mean from her perspective? Not to surrender your masculinity, but to refine it. True masculine strength is not rigid. It is adaptable without losing structure. You remain decisive. You remain calm. You remain self-controlled. But you expand your awareness. And the moment you do that, something remarkable happens. She stops feeling unpredictable. Because you begin to anticipate emotional rhythms. You understand that silence may mean reflection, not rejection. That sensitivity may mean investment, not instability. That depth may mean seriousness, not drama. The Stoic man evolves. He does not blame the world for being complex. He strengthens his capacity to navigate complexity. And love, at its highest level, is complexity mastered with composure. If you want to understand women, stop asking, "Why are they like this?" Start asking, "What is this teaching me about emotional intelligence?" Because once you elevate your perception, you will see that women are not puzzles to be solved. They are worlds to be explored. And only a man who has mastered himself can explore depth without losing direction. When you expand your mind instead of resisting hers, she will no longer feel difficult. She will feel profound. And profound love, when handled with Stoic steadiness, becomes one of the greatest strengths a man can ever possess. Conclusion. After all these years, after all the conversations, conflicts, silences, reconciliations, I have come to a simple realization. Women are not hard to understand. They are simply deeply aware. Aware of tone. Aware of shifts. Aware of meaning. Aware of emotional safety. And awareness, when viewed through an untrained masculine lens, feels like complexity. But complexity is not chaos. It is depth. The Stoic man does not fear depth. He strengthens himself to meet it. He does not react impulsively to emotional waves. He does not dismiss what he does not immediately comprehend. He does not reduce a woman's feelings to inconvenience. Instead, he refines his perception. Because the real challenge was never, "Why are women like this?" The real challenge was, "Am I emotionally disciplined enough to understand without ego?" Love, at its highest form, is not about control. It is about capacity. Your capacity to listen without defensiveness. Your capacity to remain steady in emotional intensity. Your capacity to see beyond words into meaning. When you cultivate that steadiness, something shifts. The woman who once seemed unpredictable becomes expressive. The one who seemed distant becomes open. The one who seemed complicated becomes clear. Not because she changed, but because you expanded. A Stoic man does not seek a woman who is less emotional. He becomes a man who is more grounded. And when grounded masculinity meets emotional depth, there is no confusion. There is polarity. There is respect. There is connection. Women are not puzzles to conquer. They are reflections of how emotionally mature you truly are. Master yourself, and you will never again call depth complicated. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. Hopefully the sharing about love and lessons from this video will help you have new thoughts and find empathy. If you find the video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and share with those around you. Each of us has our own stories about love, and I'm happy to explore them with you. See you in the next videos. Wishing you a wonderful day filled with love.